It's whack. It's whack because it's like, how do you think that a lie sounds better than the truth? Like the truth is the truth. Like, you're successful, bro, right? So that's all that anybody cares about, the end result, you being successful. So why not just tell the truth?
Why is it like guaranteed that we're getting lies?
Yeah.
Because it's the game talking. Because it's the game talking.
He didn't even know you were dead, Vern, please.
That's why I said I've been missing the
He
for the
didn't know
last.
you were dead, Vern. He didn't check up
I
on
know
you.
now.
Doesn't make sense, and it's, you know, it's messy.
Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of hip-hop's most controversial figures, The Game. Now, if you've been following his career, you know he's got bars for days and is not afraid to speak his mind. But let's be real, the dude has also developed a serious reputation for bending the truth, and it's starting to cost him big time.
It's whack. It's whack because it's like, how do you think that a lie sounds better than the truth? Like the truth is the truth. Like, you're successful, bro, right? So that's all that anybody cares about, the end result, you being successful. So why not just tell the truth?
From wild claims about his past to beefs that seemed more like scripted reality TV than real-life drama, The Game has been caught in a tangled web of lies more times than we can count.
Why is it like guaranteed that we're getting lies?
Yeah.
Because it's the game talking. Because it's the game talking.
Apparently, it's becoming so bad that even the hip-hop community isn't having it anymore. We're talking about some of the biggest names in the game calling him out, putting him on blast, and basically letting everyone know that the game's word isn't worth much these days. He even admitted it himself.
And and then Dre was walking back in the studio, and then like, hey, I was like, yeah. And he was like, what's that? And I'm like,
It's gotten to the point where you gotta wonder, is he ruining his own career with these stunts? Let's not forget, this isn't just about a few exaggerated stories. We're talking about repeated instances where the game's credibility has taken major hits.
Like, give the people the credit that helped you get to where you are, you know? And it wasn't and they're all Crips.
Right.
Remember when he claimed to have dated certain high-profile women only for them to deny it publicly? Or how about that time he said he was instrumental in discovering and helping major artists rise to fame, only for those very artists to shut him down? Yeah, it's been messy.
He didn't even know you were dead, Vern, please.
that's why I said I've been missing the
He
for the
didn't know
last.
you were dead, Vern. He didn't check up
I
on
know
you.
now.
But it doesn't stop there. The game's tendency to stretch the truth has led to some serious fallout in the industry. Rappers who once respected him are now distancing themselves, and some have even addressed his lies directly in interviews and diss tracks.
Not rich, I'm still lying. It's 50 Cent starring this game.
It's no secret that hip-hop is built on authenticity. Being real is everything. So when you've got someone like The Game who's been caught lying more times than we can count, it's no wonder the respect is fading fast.
Gangsters wasn't even trying to be funny, but don't lie, but all you wanted to be hard, but all you wanted to be hard. So.
And let's be honest, it's not just the lies themselves, it's the way he doubles down on them, even when the truth is staring everyone in the face. This isn't just a case of a rapper trying to hype himself up, it's become a pattern, and it's one that's making The Game look more and more like an outsider in the industry he once dominated.
He like, what you mumbling? I'm like, nah, don't worry about it. He like, what you mumbling? I'm like, fresh light, and Polly. He was like, let's lay that. After I got done, Dre was like, yeah, I fuck with 2 weeks later, came back to the studio, 50 was on this.
Whether he's doing it for clout, attention, or just can't help himself, The Game's reputation is on the line. And it's not looking good. Let's get into the most notorious moments where The Game got tangled in his own lies and why the rap game might just be done with him for good. Let's kick things off with one of the most infamous moments, The Game's claim that he was a key player in discovering Kendrick Lamar. Now, everyone knows Kendrick is a powerhouse in the rap world, but The Game tried to take credit for his rise to fame, saying he put Kendrick on the map. The problem? Kendrick himself, along with others who were there from the start, have a different story. While The Game did bring Kendrick on tour early in his career, claiming to be the one who made Kendrick, is a serious stretch, and the backlash was immediate. Fans and industry insiders were quick to call him out, accusing him of trying to latch on to Kendrick's success to boost his own image. It's moments like these that have chipped away at The Game's credibility, making people question everything he says, and wonder just how much of his story is actually true. But it doesn't stop there. Another major incident that raised eyebrows was when The Game talked about how he got started in the music industry. According to him, his rise was purely the result of hustle and talent. No handouts, no shortcuts. But then, after the money, an influential figure in the West Coast hip-hop scene who dropped a bombshell by saying the game wasn't exactly telling the whole truth. The money claimed that the game had significant help from major industry players and that his from the streets to the studio story was more fiction than fact. This revelation further damaged the game's reputation, leading many to believe he's been crafting a narrative that doesn't align with reality. With these incidents piling up, it's no wonder the game's credibility is taking a serious hit, leaving fans and fellow artists questioning just how much of his story is actually real. And then one by one he got started, being involved in beefing every other rapper because they were exposing him. One of the biggest moments that put the game's honesty into question was his long-standing beef with 50 Cent.
You know what? The game situation was disappointing to me. You know, I put so much time and energy into that project. I worked hard on that project, man. I recorded 6 records on that album. For him to come back and appear to be unappreciative was incredible to me.
Back in 2003, the hip-hop world was buzzing. 50 Cent had just set the industry on fire with his explosive debut album Get Rich or Die Tryin'. As Eminem's protege, 50 was on top of the world and everyone knew it. But you know Dr. Dre, he's never one to sit back and let someone else have all the glory. So while 50 was soaking up the spotlight, Dre had his eye on something, or should we say someone new. Enter the game. Picture this, a kid hustling mixtapes on the streets of Compton, hungry for a break. And who should come across this rising talent? None other than Dr. Dre himself. Dr. Dre saw the potential, the raw talent, and decided to bring the game into the Aftermath fold. For months, they locked themselves in the studio crafting what would be the next big thing. But the magic didn't really start until August 2003 when the game finally got in the studio with 50 Cent. Their first collaboration, a track called So Hard, was part of June at Radio 3's Taking It to the Streets mixtape. This wasn't just another track, this was the game's G-Unit debut. And let's just say, it was the spark that lit the fuse. Despite their hard work, the game still needed that extra push to break through the noise. That's when Jimmy Iovine, the music exec with the Midas touch, stepped in with a plan that would send the game's career skyrocketing. Since 50 Cent was the hottest thing in rap, why not make the game an official member of G-Unit? Dre loved the idea, pitched it to 50, and before you knew it, the game was rolling with the G-Unit crew. The rest, as they say, is history, but oh, what a wild ride it was. It has been reported that the Interscope Records co-founder ignored the game at the Los Angeles Lakers game. 50 Cent trolled the pair on his Instagram, sharing a clip of Iovine avoiding the game. The caption said, "LOL, the man did not even look at him. Get this guy out of here." 50 wrote the records. By July of 2004, Dr. Dre was in full throttle, pushing his West Coast prodigy, The Game, into the spotlight. Dre's efforts culminated in The Game landing his own June at Radio mixtape titled The Fifth Element. While The Game was making waves, 50 Cent was deep in the lab, crafting his second studio album. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, set to drop on February 14th, 2005. And as fate would have it, The Game was also grinding away on his debut album. Originally, it was going to be called N-Words with an Attitude Volume 1, but cooler heads prevailed and it was renamed The Documentary. Now, here's where things get interesting. Picture this, 50 Cent in his home studio working on what was sure to be another chart-topping album. But being the stand-up guy he was, 50 decided to hit mute on his vocals for several tracks, his own tracks, and hand them over to The Game, all to make sure the documentary would be absolute fire. But as early 2005 rolled around, things between 50 Cent and The Game started to get complicated. The Game began taking shots at other artists and DJs seemingly out of nowhere, stirring up drama left and right. This left 50 Cent in a tough spot, having to play peacemaker and smooth things over with these industry heavyweights to keep The Game's career from crashing before it even took off. What started as a brotherhood built on mutual respect and collaboration was beginning to show cracks, and the tension was just getting started.
And his way of patching it up was, I don't have a problem with Jay-Z or or Fat Joe or anybody.
Tensions between 50 Cent and the Game hit a boiling point when the Game started pushing for the documentary to drop before 50's highly anticipated second album. This did not sit well with 50, who had to grudgingly delay the St. Valentine's Day Massacre until March, and you can bet that left a bitter taste in his mouth. By January 28, 2005, when Hate It or Love It dropped, things were already on shaky ground. In the music video, fans couldn't help but notice that 50 refused to sit in the front seat of the lowrider with the Game, an obvious sign that something was seriously off between the two. But the real breaking point came when the Game made it clear that he didn't have any beef with Nas, Fat Joe, and Jadakiss, three artists who were firmly on 50 Cent's enemy list at the time. To 50, this was the ultimate betrayal, a slap in the face from someone who was supposed to be part of the G-Unit family. The final nail in the coffin? During an interview with Ed Lover on Power 105.1, 50 Cent let loose on the Game, airing out their dirty laundry for everyone to hear. And in a dramatic live moment, 50 officially kicked the Game out of G-Unit right there on the airwaves. The fallout was as public as it was explosive, marking the end of what could have been one of the most powerful alliances in hip-hop history.
You see what I'm saying? And he came back recently from overseas and was disrespectful, man. Like the way he's like, it's like he's feeling himself, like because of how well his record is selling.
The drama between 50 Cent and the Game reached a fever pitch that fateful day. After 50 blasted the Game's disloyalty during an interview with Funk Master Flex at Hot 97, the Game, still in New York and fuming, decided to confront him. With a crew of gang members in tow, the Game headed straight to the radio station, and what followed was nothing short of a Hollywood-style showdown. A shootout erupted between the Game's crew and 50 Cent's entourage, leaving one of the Game's guys with a bullet in the leg. Amid the chaos, 50 Cent made a hasty escape through the back door, avoiding what could have been a much worse situation. But just when everyone thought the beef had reached an irreparable point, something unexpected happened. A couple of days later, 50 Cent and the Game stood side by side in a surprising act of unity. They made a donation to the Boys Choir of Harlem and the Compton Unified School District music program, even going as far as to embrace and publicly declare their feud over. For a moment, it seemed like peace had been restored. However, the calm didn't last long. By Summer Jam 2005, the Game was back to his rebellious ways, in a move that shocked fans and industry insiders alike. The Game took the stage and dissed 50 Cent and the entire G-Unit crew. As if that wasn't enough, he ripped off his G-Unit chain and threw it into the crowd, signaling that he was officially done with the group. This dramatic gesture marked the start of the Game's relentless anti-G-Unit campaign, turning what could have been a truce into one of the most notorious feuds in hip-hop history.
Straight the fuck out of Compton, and I got love for New York.
Just a few weeks after the drama at Summer Jam, the Game turned up the heat with his You Know What It Is Volume 3 mixtape, a project almost entirely dedicated to dissing 50 Cent and G-Unit. The centerpiece, the legendary track 300 Bars and Runnin', a relentless 15-minute lyrical assault where the Game didn't just take shots, he unloaded an entire arsenal on 50 Cent and his crew. The track became an instant classic in the world of rap beefs, cementing the Game's reputation as a formidable opponent. Not one to back down, 50 Cent fired back in August with the release of the Piggy Bank music video. In true 50 style, he took a jab at the Game by portraying him as Mr. Potato Head, a not-so-subtle dig that showed just how deep the animosity ran. But 50 wasn't done. He sat down with Tim Westwood for an interview where he rehashed the infamous Hot 97 incident and laid out exactly why their beef had escalated to such epic proportions. The back and forth between these two heavyweights had become much more than just a feud. It was a full-blown war, playing out in mixtapes, music videos, and interviews, with each side trying to outdo the other in what would become one of the most talked about rivalries in hip-hop history.
For me, you know what? The Game situation was disappointing to me. You know, I put so much time and energy into that project. I worked hard on that project, man. I recorded 6 records on that album.
The Game was not done yet. He cranked up the intensity with the Ghost Unit mixtape, another project laser focused on dismantling G-Unit piece by piece. Meanwhile, 50 Cent couldn't let it slide, and at the end of the track Emotional, on the June at Radio 14 Back to Business mixtape, he finally took his shot back, throwing shade right at the Game. The diss tracks and public jabs continued flying from both sides, keeping their feud alive and burning hot. But the game's departure from G-Unit had more than just musical consequences. It put a serious strain on his relationship with Dr. Dre. With millions on the line, Dre had to make a tough decision, which ultimately meant pulling back on his support for the game. Many thought this would be the end of the game's rise, but he proved them wrong in a big way. In 2006, just a year after his explosive debut, the game dropped Doctor's Advocate. Without Dre's guidance or 50 Cent's contributions, the game delivered a stellar album that not only silenced the critics, but also proved he could stand tall on his own. It was a bold statement that the game was here to stay no matter who was or wasn't in his corner. Behind the scenes, though, things weren't as bitter as they seemed. Despite the public fallout, the game and Dr. Dre managed to keep a healthy relationship. By the time the Red album hit the shelves in 2011, the game revealed that Dre was still in his corner, offering vital feedback and showing that their bond, while tested, was far from broken. The game's journey was a testament to his resilience, showing that even in the ruthless world of hip-hop, it's possible to survive and thrive through the drama.
Just because Dre wasn't on the production side of my second and third album doesn't mean that I didn't talk to Dre. Me and Dre had the same relationship. Dre always told me, no matter what happens, no matter what is said in the media, me and you are always going to be the same as we were the last time we had an in-person conversation.
For years, the game's loyalty to Dr. Dre seemed rock solid. Even after his official ties with Dre had loosened, the game remained fiercely committed, always quick to express his deep gratitude. Sure, there were moments of tensions between them, but the game never let those overshadow the respect and admiration he had for Dre. He even bragged in interviews about being able to call Dre anytime he wanted, a testament to the bond they shared. But in the unpredictable world of hip-hop, bonds can break, and the games might have finally snapped. The reality is that the game, despite his loyalty, has systematically burned bridges with Dr. Dre and the entire Aftermath family. What was once a strong relationship slowly unraveled, not because of any one incident, but because the game let his emotions get the better of him in an industry where strategy and level-headedness are key. It's a downfall that might have been avoided if he had managed to keep his feelings in check. When Dr. Dre released the Compton LP, the game's appearance on just one track raised some eyebrows. But it wasn't until the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show that the rift became undeniable. Dre was set to perform a career-spanning set showcasing the many artists he had mentored over the years. On the big night, he brought out Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Anderson .Paak, Kendrick Lamar, and even 50 Cent. Yet the game in his own city of Los Angeles was nowhere to be seen. It was a glaring omission that spoke volumes. At first, the game played it cool, acting unbothered by the snub. But anyone familiar with the game knew it was only a matter of time before his true feelings surfaced. Eventually, he admitted that being left out did sting. The situation highlighted just how far his relationship with Dre had fallen. A painful reminder that the world of hip-hop, loyalty, and respect must be carefully maintained, or they can slip away, leaving even the most devoted behind.
Snoop is an icon. Dre is an icon. M is an icon, but M is not from LA. 50 is not from LA, and I'm not taking away from the fact that they were on the Super Bowl, but LA have been on a Detroit Super Bowl or a New York Super Bowl. It just wouldn't have happened. LA all around the Super Bowl, and I don't get the call.
This admission flipped a switch, opening the floodgates for the game to cross a line he had never crossed before, discrediting Dr. Dre. The rapper who had once penned a heartfelt tribute to Dre on his second album now downplayed Dre's impact on his career and life as if it were insignificant.
Dre didn't do any beats on the documentary, but I didn't say he didn't oversee it. You want Dre to oversee anything because he's a mastermind when it comes to that. But as far as like doing a beat for the documentary, no.
Soon, he was claiming that Kanye West, a man he had previously beefed with over explicit lyrics about Kanye's then-wife Kim Kardashian, had done more for his career than Dre ever did.
It's crazy that Ye did more for me in the last 2 weeks than Dre did for me my whole career.
The world collectively rolled its eyes at this comment, and those who witnessed the game's early days with Aftermath were quick to call him out.
Having Dre do anything for your project, anything in your career, touch any part of anything that you're doing in life is such a blessing that I shall not ever on that again.
In an interview on Vlad TV, the Compton rapper discussed his controversial comments and the reaction to them from the Aftermath Entertainment founder. At that time, Ye was doing a lot for me that he didn't necessarily have to do. And Ye has always been there for me and always had my back, he said. What I can say about Dre is Dre ain't always had my back for good reason. Dre has to protect the interests of Dr. Dre, and there's times when Ye had to protect the interests of Ye, but he didn't give a f. He'd rather just go to bat for me. By publicly disparaging the man who had given him a major break, the game effectively burned his most valued bridge in hip-hop. He has since tried to walk back his comments, attempting to save face, but the damage was done.
So basically, I was a little inebriated, and I said some things that I meant. I'm not gonna take it back. I ain't no sucker.
In the aftermath of the Super Bowl snub, the game internalized a lot of animosity towards Dre. He even used this bitterness to justify some of his actions, like claiming that his diss towards Eminem was just another way to get back at Dre.
Throwing shots at Eminem and beefing with Eminem, it was just me being upset with Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre can't out-rap me, so I just went at him, just because that's just how I get sometimes.
If this were an isolated incident, perhaps Dre could have let it go. But it was part of a larger pattern of behavior that ultimately destroyed Dre's respect for the game. The game's attempts to undermine Kendrick Lamar were another factor in Dre's distancing. Saluted by Kendrick in Black Boy Fly, as a rapper he looked up to, the game was present when the torch was passed to Kendrick by Snoop Dogg. Over the years, Kendrick collaborated with the game on several tracks, and it seems like they were on good terms. However, at every turn, the game appeared to downplay Kendrick's skills, whether out of competitiveness or jealousy.
Ain't nobody in Compton out rap game. Kendrick do it. I love that to death. I flew past Kendrick when it was on foot in a Range Rover and showed him how to do it. Don't play with game name. Hardest in Compton, rapping, lyricist, me.
Once again, the game let alcohol influence his actions, fostering potential problems with another of Dre's proteges. This, along with his refusal to stand by the West Coast during Kendrick's beef with Drake, contributed to Dre's gradual distancing. While Dre provided the intro to Not Like Us, the game took Drake's side and wasn't present at Kendrick's pop-up show that symbolized West Coast unity. This absence raised questions and added to the reasons why Dre no longer respects him. Despite the game's attempts to control his narrative, it's easy to see why Dre has distanced himself. The game has dissed nearly every major rapper associated with Aftermath, and his unpredictable nature has proven hazardous. His disloyalty and ungratefulness have made it clear to Dre that maintaining ties with the game is more trouble than it's worth. One person wrote, "At least the game is showing some fake concern. That's the Hollywood in him." Another one added, "I remember an interview he was talking about how good of a father he is, then he was asked what grade his daughter was in and he didn't know." So there you have it. The long, tangled web of lies that's left the game in some serious trouble. From trying to take credit for Kendrick Lamar's success, to clashing with 50 Cent over loyalty, and even getting called out by Mike Tyson for fabricating stories. The game's credibility is hanging by a thread. It's one thing to hype yourself up in the rap game, but when you've got heavyweights like Tyson, 50, and Kendrick calling you out, it's clear that people aren't buying what you're selling anymore. And now if the game doesn't find a way to come clean and rebuild his image, he might be facing the end of his career. Not because of a lack of talent, but because no one believes him anymore.